Hi friends, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all doing really well. I'm doing great too. So how are your days going? You'll be really happy to know that today too, I've brought you an awesome science fiction movie. And it's one you're already quite familiar with. This movie is Avatar: The Way of Water, released in 2022. We know it as the second sequel to Avatar. When the first Avatar movie was released, it got a tremendous response from audiences, and viewers loved it immensely. And it's one of the highest-grossing movies of all time. And inspired by that, the director brought out its second sequel in 2022, which is Avatar: The Way of Water. So friends, without wasting any more time, let's get into the movie's explanation. This story begins about 10 years after the events of the first movie. By this time, life on Pandora has changed a lot. Jake Sully is no longer an outsider. He's now an important leader of the Metkayina clan, and his family with Neytiri has also gradually grown. They have 3 children: the eldest son Neytiri, the second son Loak, and the youngest daughter Tuk. The 3 of them are completely different in nature. Neytiri, as the eldest, is comparatively responsible. Loak is a bit more emotional and loves taking risks. And little Tuk is still the family's darling. But this family doesn't just have Jake and Neytiri's own children. They've also raised 2 others as their own. One of them is Kiri. And the story of Kiri's birth is actually one of Pandora's biggest mysteries. After Dr. Grace Augustine died, her avatar body remained intact. But surprisingly, Kiri was born from that very avatar with no natural explanation. No one knows what actually happened behind her birth. Even Kiri herself doesn't know where her true identity is rooted. But from childhood, she's shown a strange kind of connection with Pandora's nature and its living world. The other is Spider. His real name is Jake Sully, but everyone knows him by the name Spider. His identity is even more complicated, because he's none other than the son of Colonel Miles Quaritch, the terrifying enemy from the first movie. When Quaritch died, Spider was so young that he couldn't be taken on the spaceship journey back to Earth. So he ended up staying on Pandora. In the end, Jake and Neytiri's family started raising him as their own son. But one thing always created an invisible distance within their family. Spider is a human, and his father is one of those very humans who wanted to destroy Pandora. No matter how much Neytiri tried to see him as part of the family, deep down, a discomfort toward Quaritch's son always remained. This is how several years passed on Pandora in relative peace. But that peace didn't last long. One night, suddenly, massive spacecraft appear in Pandora's sky. In the first movie, humans could be driven out of Pandora. But this time, they've come back with much greater preparation than before. With Earth's natural resources nearly exhausted, humanity had no other option left. So this time, it's not just about looting mineral resources and leaving. RDA has returned with a plan to make Pandora itself their new Earth. This return of humans was, for Jake, the return of an old nightmare. Because he knew that once the Sky People decided to occupy a place, they didn't give much consideration to the people or nature there. So Jake didn't sit idle either. To weaken RDA's supply system, he started leading his warriors in attacks on their various supply lines. By seizing weapons, ammunition, and other military equipment, he was trying to reduce humanity's strength. One day, on one such mission, Jake was accompanied by his 2 sons, Neytiri and Loak. But during the mission, a mistake by Loak suddenly turned the situation dangerous. In an instant, both brothers found themselves in danger. As a father, Jake then risked his own life to rescue both his children. But even after finding his children safe back home, he didn't hug them lovingly and let it go. Instead, he scolded them harshly. Neytiri couldn't stay quiet about this. In her eyes, Jake wasn't behaving like a father toward his own children, but like a military commander. He was treating every mistake as a mistake of war. But Jake's reasoning was also clear. He knew that war against the Sky People was no game. Here, even a small mistake could cause the death of the whole family. It was to keep his children safe that he had become so strict. But Jake still didn't know that his oldest enemy had already returned to Pandora. This time RDA has used a technology through which the memories of the dead Colonel Quaritch were collected and brought back in a new Navi avatar body. In other words, the Quaritch standing there now may look like a Navi, but inside his head is the memory, experience, and, most importantly, the very same hatred toward Jake of the old Quaritch. After landing on Pandora, the Colonel learns that the Navi are again carrying out continuous attacks on RDA. When some footage of past attacks is shown to him, he has no doubt left about who is behind these attacks. In the tactics, the pattern of the attacks, and the leadership, he sees Jake's mark in everything. And that's when his old fire of revenge burns again. The Colonel goes deep into the jungle searching for Jake. By a strange twist of fate, he arrives at the very place where his own human body had died many years ago. But there, he sees something that makes his target for revenge even more personal. Jake's children and Spider were playing there. The Colonel's eyes are immediately drawn to their hands. While ordinary Navi have 4 fingers, Jake's children have 5 fingers, like humans. That means the mark of human lineage is clear on their bodies. Then, when he hears Spider's name, the matter becomes even clearer. He realizes this boy is none other than his own child. The man who had returned to Pandora to destroy Jake suddenly finds standing in front of him his own lost son. And from this moment on, the Colonel's mission to destroy Jake's family is no longer just a war of revenge. It also becomes entangled with his own blood relation. When Jake and Neytiri quickly arrive there, they somehow manage to rescue the rest of their children. But it isn't possible to get everyone out safely. In the chaos, Spider is captured by the Colonel, and this moment becomes the biggest source of worry for Jake. Because Spider knows their family's location, knows their movements, and most importantly, knows where Jake might be hiding. The Colonel shows no mercy in trying to extract this information from Spider. He is interrogated, pressured, and even brutally tortured. But no matter how much pain Spider endures, he doesn't agree to give any information about Jake and his family's location. To him, Jake's family is his own family, and to save that family, no matter what torment is inflicted on him, he won't open his mouth. But something strange happens. Seeing his own son suffering this much, somewhere inside the Colonel, an old fatherly feeling seems to awaken. Pushing the other soldiers aside, he takes charge of Spider himself. He tries to make him understand that he never wants to harm his own son. Rather, an opportunity opens up for the Colonel to get Spider back as his own child. But for Spider, the matter wasn't that simple. He has known who his father was since childhood. He knows what Colonel Quaritch did to Pandora's innocent inhabitants. How many people he killed. How many families he destroyed. These stories are not unknown to him. So he has no intention at all of accepting the man standing before him as his father. Spider makes it clear Having a blood relation doesn't mean you have to call someone a father. The Colonel may want to see him as his own son, but to Spider, he's still that old Quaritch, a ruthless man who turned Pandora into his battlefield. Meanwhile, Jake begins to understand the gravity of the situation. He knew that no matter how strong Spider stayed, the Colonel would eventually find some way to extract information from him. And once their location was revealed, not just Jake's family, but the whole Metkayina clan would be in danger. So Jake is forced to make one of the hardest decisions of his life. To keep his clan safe, he hands over the responsibility of leadership to someone else. Leaving behind the clan he had led for so long, the people he had fought so hard to protect, was not at all easy for him. But Jake understood that his presence had now become a source of danger for them. As long as the Colonel's target remained Jake, the Metkayina clan would not be safe. So, taking his family with him, Jake sets out toward a completely unknown region of Pandora. Neytiri couldn't accept this decision at first. Leaving her own clan, her own home, and her own people behind was, to her, an almost impossible thing. Leaving behind the place they'd called home for so many years felt like leaving behind a part of herself. But in the end, Neytiri too understood that right now, their children's safety mattered more than their personal feelings. After a long journey, they finally reach a completely different Navi clan living near Pandora's ocean. Their name is the Metkayina. While the Metkayina live in oneness with the forest, the Metkayina's entire life revolves around the ocean. Their body structure is also somewhat different from the forest Navi. Longer arms and legs, broader limbs, and bodies suited for staying underwater for long periods. So when Jake's family comes before them seeking shelter, Metkayina Chief Tonawari and his wife Ronal are hesitant at first. In their eyes, Jake's family were outsiders. They were forest dwellers, didn't know the rules of the sea, didn't know how to move in water, and their way of life was completely different. On top of that, seeing the 5 fingers on the hands of Jake's children increases the Metkayina's suspicion even further. Because while ordinary Navi have 4 fingers on their hands, Jake's children have 5, like humans. As a result, questions start arising among them. Does this family have Sky People blood mixed in? Even so, hearing about Jake's situation and his family's helpless state, Tonawari finally decides to grant them shelter. But it quickly becomes clear that getting shelter and becoming accepted in a new society are not the same thing. Jake's family now has to learn a completely new life. Those who could move so easily in the forests become completely helpless coming into the ocean water. They have to learn to swim all over again, how to hold their breath underwater, how to communicate with sea creatures, how to build friendships with them. All of it is new to them. This change was especially difficult for Jake's children. But in this new environment, one of them surprisingly starts adapting faster than everyone else. That's Kiri. Ever since coming near the ocean, a strange change is seen in Kiri's behavior. It seems as if this world isn't unfamiliar to her. With the underwater creatures, corals, plants, with everything, she starts feeling a kind of deep spiritual connection, where others were seeing the ocean just as a new environment. Kiri seemed to be feeling something there that others couldn't see or understand. And because of this, Kiri gradually starts to seem different from the rest of the family too. Meanwhile, a new relationship also starts forming in Loak's life. His friendship with Tsureya, the daughter of Metkayina Chief Tonawari, gradually starts deepening. Even though their cultures are different, a natural understanding forms between them. But it's not that everyone accepted Jake's family this easily. Tonawari's son, Aonung, was annoyed with these outsiders from the start. Whenever he got the chance, he would mock Jake's children, poke at their weaknesses, and try to show that they weren't like the Metkayina. At one point, the situation escalates to blows. But instead of getting further into trouble with Aonung by taking his children's side, Jake, on the contrary, forces his own sons to apologize. Because to him, discipline is the most important thing. He wanted to make his children understand that in a new place, you don't have to answer every insult with a fight to prove yourself. But Aonung didn't forget this so easily. To take revenge, one day he traps Loak. He takes him to such a deep and dangerous area of the ocean that Loak ends up completely alone. All around, only the vast ocean, and beneath it, unknown creatures lurking. A little later, Loak realizes he's in terrible danger. A ferocious aquatic creature attacks him. Even trying to flee, Loak couldn't save himself. At one point, the situation reaches such a stage that his chances of survival are almost gone. Right then, from the depths of the ocean, a massive tulkun comes forward. Tulkuns look massive, but they're not ordinary, ferocious creatures. Rather, they're extremely intelligent, peace-loving, and honored by the Metkayina like family members. Their bond with the Na'vi is so deep that the death of a single tulkun is a matter of grief for Metkayina society, like losing a family member. And it's this very tulkun that saves Loak from that ferocious creature at the last moment. His name is Payakan. But Payakan isn't like the other tulkuns. He's separated from his own pod, alone and outcast. In the eyes of the Metkayina, he has a bad past. So while others avoid him, Loak, for the first time, starts seeing a real friend in him. And from here, such a friendship forms between Loak and Payakan that will later go on to change not just the two of their lives, but the fate of the entire Metkayina clan. As Loak's friendship with Payakan grows deeper, the real story of this tulkun's past comes to light. The story for which the Metkayina had outcast Payakan was actually one-sided. Once, human hunters had attacked the tulkuns, and in that very attack, Payakan lost his mother. The pain of losing his mother before his own eyes changed him from within. Out of intense anger and grief, he launched a counterattack against the hunters. But during that counterattack, several Na'vi also died. After that, the blame for the whole incident fell on Payakan. Why he attacked, what had happened before it, or who had attacked first. No one cared to find out. As a result, Payakan gradually became a criminal in everyone's eyes and was separated from his own pod. When Loak learns the whole truth, he doesn't judge Payakan like the others. Instead, he understands that Payakan isn't actually a cruel creature. Inside him too, there is grief, love, and the pain of loss. And perhaps this is why the friendship between the two becomes so deep. Because Loak himself often feels different from others within his own family. So he understands Payakan's loneliness better than others. Meanwhile, the Colonel too starts to understand that finding Jake directly is nearly impossible. No Na'vi on Pandora wants to help the Sky people. Even if they know where Jake is hiding, they won't give that information to the Colonel. So this time, instead of directly chasing after Jake to find him, the Colonel plans to strike at something the Metkayina hold most dear: the tulkuns. The colonel orders Tulkun hunters to hunt Tulkuns near the coast. Because he knew that to the Metkayina, Tulkuns aren't just some sea creature, they're part of their family. So if a Tulkun is killed, the Metkayina surely won't stay quiet. They'll come out for revenge, and in that very opportunity, the colonel will be able to find their location. But behind this cruel hunt, there was another big reason: money. Tide, special fluid obtained from the Tulkun's brains, is extremely valuable on Earth. Because this substance can be used to slow human aging, its price is so high that killing just one Tulkun lets hunters earn a huge amount of money. In other words, human greed and the misuse of technology once again become a cause of death for Pandora's creatures here. After the hunters kill a Tulkun, they deliberately leave its massive body floating in the ocean water. They wanted the Metkayina to see this sight with their own eyes, because they knew that seeing the corpse of a beloved Tulkun would make it hard for the Metkayina to keep their emotions in control. And that's exactly what happens. As news of the Tulkun killing spreads, intense outrage builds up among the Metkayina warriors. They get ready to take up arms and seek revenge against the hunters. But Jake stops them right then, because Jake understood that this whole incident was actually a trap set by the colonel. He wants to provoke the Metkayina and draw them out, so that by following them, RDA can find Jake's location. So Jake warns everyone, no action should be taken out of emotion. Instead, if any unusual tracking device is found on a Tulkun's body, it must be removed immediately. This warning spreads throughout the Metkayina clan. But Loak becomes worried about one thing. Payakan isn't with them. He's been cast out from the Metkayina clan itself. So there's no guarantee this news will reach him. And if Payakan doesn't even know that there's a tracking device on his body, then unknowingly, he'll show the colonel the way to reach them. So Loak doesn't wait any longer. He risks his own life and rushes to warn Payakan. Later, his siblings don't let him go alone either, and they join him. But the sight they see when they get there proves Loak's fear true. There's a tracking device attached right on Payakan's body. In other words, exactly as the colonel had planned, he has used Payakan to reach Jake's family. Getting the news, Jake and Neytiri rush there quickly. But by then, the situation has gotten quite bad. The colonel's men catch Loak, Kiri, and Tuk. This time the colonel puts direct pressure on Jake. If he wants his children back alive, Jake has to lay down his weapons and surrender. As a father, Jake now faces a terrifying decision. Not saving his own life, but saving his children's lives is most important to him. But the colonel also knew that if he could trap Jake this way, his revenge of many years would finally be fulfilled. Right at that moment, Payakan can no longer stay silent. The very Payakan whom everyone had pushed away, calling a rule breaker and dangerous, now breaks all the rules to save his friend. He directly attacks the hunters. With the blow of his massive body, the hunter's ship starts getting severely damaged. Along with Payakan's attack, Jake, Neytiri, and the entire Metkayina force also jump into the battle. A terrifying battle begins in the middle of the ocean. On one side, humans equipped with modern weapons and technology. On the other, Na'vi warriors and the strength of the massive Tulkuns. Amid gunfire, explosions, and the fierce current of water, the situation goes out of control within moments. The hunter's ship takes hit after hit. Water starts entering inside the ship. Various parts get destroyed. And amid this chaos, the attempt to free Jake's children begins. But It's in this very fight for freedom that the biggest disaster occurs. Jake's eldest son, Neytiri, is shot while trying to save his siblings. Neytiri was Jake's most responsible child, looking after his younger siblings, standing by them in danger. He was always the one in front. And this time too, without thinking of his own safety, he moves forward to save the others. But the gunshot wound was fatal. Jake and Neytiri rush to their son. They try to save him until the last moment. But right before their eyes, Neytiri gradually goes still. In front of his own parents' eyes, Jake's eldest son, Neytiri, breathes his last. This death seems to shatter the entire family in an instant. Jake, who had given up everything to protect his family all this time couldn't save his own child. For Neytiri too, this moment was unbearable. The very child for whose safety they had left their home, their clan, and their familiar life to come to the ocean. That very child ended up dying right before their eyes. But the Colonel doesn't stop even here. Even after Neytiri's death, Kiri and Tuk are still captive in his hands. He keeps pressuring Jake again for surrender. Jake, in the midst of grief, then realizes that this battle can't be won by strength alone. He'll have to use intelligence and strategy. And right then, Spider stands beside him. Jake and Spider together plan an explosion inside the hunter's ship. Seizing the opportunity, they set off an explosion inside the ship. In an instant, fire spreads from one part to another. All around, the inside of the ship starts filling with smoke, fire, and water. But amid this chaos, one thing becomes clear in Jake's mind. Neytiri won't come back. Now he has only one goal in front of him. He has to save the rest of his children, no matter what. When the Colonel finally puts a knife to Kiri's throat, trying to force Jake to surrender, the situation becomes even more terrifying. But this time, Neytiri doesn't back down for even a moment. She grabs Spider, puts a knife to his throat, and makes it clear to the Colonel, a child for a child. That is, if the Colonel harms Kiri in any way, his own son won't be safe either. The very Colonel who had been threatening everyone this whole time, in the end, also can't risk his own son's life. Forced by this, he lets Kiri go. In this very moment, it becomes clear that no matter how cruel and ruthless he is, a true father's love for Spider still remains within him. After this, the massive burning ship gradually starts sinking into the depths of the ocean. All around, fire, smoke, and water. Within a moment, the entire battlefield turns into a death trap. Neytiri and Tuk get trapped inside the ship. And on the other side, Jake comes face to face directly with his oldest enemy, Colonel Quaritch. A terrifying fight begins underwater between the two. All the anger, revenge, and hatred of all these years seem to explode in this final clash. In the end, Jake somehow manages to overpower the Colonel and knock him unconscious. But he doesn't get to enjoy the victory for very long. Having stayed underwater for a long time himself, he becomes extremely weak, and due to lack of oxygen, he gradually starts losing consciousness. Right at that moment, Loak arrives there, the technique of holding one's breath for a long time. Learned from the Metkayina, comes in useful now. Risking his own life, Loak goes deep into the water, finds his father, and with all his strength, pulls him up to the surface. The very boy Jake used to scold repeatedly for making mistakes. That same Loak, in the final moment, saves his father's life and proves he's no longer that helpless boy. On the other side, Kiri too makes use of her strange power at this time. With the help of that mysterious spiritual connection she's formed with Pandora's marine creatures, she lights up the darkness underwater and finds Neytiri and Tuk. In the end, they too are brought out safely. But one thing still remained. The Colonel lay unconscious underwater. Seeing him, Spider hesitates for a moment. This man is his biological father, yet this same man is his new family's enemy and responsible for the killing of countless Na'vi. Even so, in the end, Spider can't fully deny the blood relation. He dives into the water and pulls the Colonel up above the surface too. After regaining consciousness, the Colonel asks Spider to come with him. He perhaps thought that after everything that had happened, his son would finally come back to him. But this time, Spider makes his decision clear. He refuses to go with the Colonel and also tells him about his hatred toward him. Even though there's a blood relation, he chooses that his real family is Jake, Neytiri, and their children. But the Colonel's story doesn't end here. The villain everyone thought was dead survives once again. That means Jake, even after defeating his greatest enemy, couldn't finish him off completely. The possibility of them facing each other again in the future still remains. After this begins the family's hardest farewell. According to the Metkayina's ancient customs, Neteyam's body is taken into the depths of the ocean, the very ocean their family had newly come to know all this time. It's to this ocean that they now have to surrender their eldest son forever. For parents, there can be no harder moment than this. After losing Neteyam, Jake completely breaks down. He starts to feel that wherever his family goes, danger follows. So he decides not to put anyone else's life at risk anymore. Leaving the Metkayina clan and going somewhere else again might be safer for them. But Tonowari doesn't let him make that decision. He makes Jake understand that Neteyam is no longer just their family's son. He has returned to the ocean and, according to their belief, has become part of the Sea Mother herself. So Jake's family is no longer outsiders. After Neteyam's death, their bond with the Metkayina has grown even deeper. From now on, Jake's family is the Metkayina's family too. In the final scene, Jake and Neytiri connect with the Tree of Souls. For a moment, away from the real world's grief, they return to a beautiful memory from the past, where Neteyam is still alive. And at the moment of his first hunt, Jake looked at his son, filled with pride. For a moment, within that memory, it feels as if Neteyam has come back to them. But no matter how beautiful the memory, reality can't be changed. Their eldest son is no more. Now the family has to move forward carrying that emptiness with them. And elsewhere, somewhere in the dark, Colonel Quaritch is still alive. So while this chapter ends with Neteyam's death, the war between Jake Sully and Colonel Quaritch hasn't actually ended. Rather, on one side, a family is starting a new life, carrying their greatest grief. And on the other, their old enemy is waiting for another chance to return. My dear friends, so far we've been doing a brief explanation of this movie. I hope you liked it a lot. Now we're going to discuss the hidden twists of this movie. I hope you'll enjoy it a lot. So let's begin. Twist number 1. Kiri's birth was left unexplained. If we look at Dr. Grace's death, we see her dead body. And from that body, Kiri is somehow strangely born. Yet through whom this was possible is not revealed anywhere in the movie. This being left unexplained suggests more twists await regarding her in the future. Throughout Avatar: The Way of Water, There are many questions the movie doesn't directly answer, but among them, one of the most mysterious questions is, where did Kiri actually come from? Because Kiri's birth didn't happen through any natural process. In the first movie, after Dr. Grace Augustine's death, her avatar body remained on Pandora. Whether Grace's spiritual connection with that body had fully ended or not isn't clear either. And it's from that very avatar body that Kiri is later born. But surprisingly, she has no known father. In other words, how Grace's avatar body conceived, who played a role in Kiri's birth, or whether this birth has any direct connection to Eywa. The movie deliberately leaves these questions open in front of the audience. What's even stranger is that Kiri herself is curious about the mystery of her own birth. She knows she doesn't have an ordinary parent's story like everyone else. She only knows that she has a strange connection with Grace's avatar body. At one point, she wants to connect with that avatar to find the answer to her own birth. But right when it seems the curtain of mystery is about to lift, Kiri falls into an unusual experience, and the connection gets cut off. As a result, the audience doesn't get to know the real truth either. This is exactly where Kiri's character becomes different from everyone else, because she shows abilities that even ordinary Na'vi don't have. Her connection with Pandora's plants, sea creatures, or Eywa seems much deeper compared to others. The way she feels the living nature around her underwater makes it seem as if Pandora's environment isn't some outside world to her. Rather, as if it's part of her own body. Even the behavior of sea creatures she understands far more naturally than others. This is why looking at Kiri's birth simply as a strange incident from Grace's avatar doesn't let you understand the whole matter. Rather, the movie repeatedly hints that Kiri's existence might have some deep connection with Pandora's greatest mystery, Eywa. But the director has deliberately not revealed that answer yet. As a result, the mystery of Kiri's birth doesn't just raise questions about her own identity, but also becomes a big hint about which direction Pandora's story will go in the future. Even though Kiri is shown as an ordinary Na'vi girl, her birth, her powers, and her unusual relationship with Eywa put together, it becomes clear that Kiri's story actually hasn't even begun yet. Her real importance will perhaps be revealed in future chapters. Twist number 2. The dead villain returns as the biggest danger. If we think about Colonel Quaritch's death in the first movie, we thought it was the end of that chapter. But through the memory technology that revived him in a Na'vi avatar body, he comes back again. And not only does he come back even more aggressive than before. At the end of the first Avatar movie, when Colonel Miles Quaritch is defeated and killed by Jake, the audience naturally assumed this villain's story ends here. Because his human body is destroyed, and with Jake and Neytiri's victory on Pandora, it seemed like the threat from humans and Quaritch was over for now. But as soon as Avatar, The Way of Water begins, the movie completely flips that assumption. RDA doesn't just bring Quaritch back again, but brings him back in a new body that's far more powerful than his previous human body. His memory, personality, military training, and the old fire of revenge toward Jake. All of it is preserved in the new Avatar body. In other words, this isn't actually the old Quaritch's body, but a technological reconstruction of his brain's memory and personality. So when he opens his eyes and wakes up in the new body, the events after the first movie feel to him as if they happened just a moment ago. He knows how Jake defeated him, knows what Neytiri did against him, and knows exactly where his old mission on Pandora had failed. And this time, his purpose for returning is far more personal. Jake Sully. The first time Quaritch came to Pandora, it was as part of a military operation. Suppressing the Na'vi and protecting human interests was his main goal. But coming back a second time, the whole matter becomes a war of revenge for him. He understands that Jake is responsible for his death, and finding Jake is now his biggest goal. The scariest part is that the new avatar body gives him advantages in Pandora's environment that he never had in his human body. He looks like the Na'vi, can move like the Na'vi, and can fight within their forest environment. As a result, from a distance, it's now possible to mistake him for an ordinary Na'vi warrior. This very thing makes him even more dangerous than the previous Quaritch. And an important aspect of the movie is that Quaritch actually comes back, having learned from his defeat in the previous movie. The first time, he failed to find Jake, but this time, instead of chasing directly after Jake, he tries to find him by using his family, children, and the people around him. Even after recognizing Spider as his own son, he wants to use that relationship for his own advantage. In other words, feelings of fatherhood and revenge keep working together within him. This is exactly where the movie's big twist deepens further. Because the audience thought that after Quaritch died in the first movie, Jake no longer had his biggest enemy. But in reality, by bringing a dead villain back in a new body, the movie turns Jake's old enemy into a new and even more personal threat to his family. And the biggest thing is, this new Quaritch can't be stopped completely either. Toward the end, even though Jake defeats him, he doesn't die. Rather, he lies unconscious underwater. And Spider, in the end, saves his own father's life. As a result, Quaritch's story doesn't end even at the movie's end. Rather, his survival makes it clear. This war between Jake Sully and Colonel Quaritch still isn't over. Their old conflict has laid the foundation for an even bigger clash in the future. Twist number 3. The moment of learning Spider's identity stops the Colonel, and seeing his own son face to face after so many years, the Colonel temporarily forgets his obsession with revenge and becomes somewhat still and calms down. In this moment, we understand that a father's tenderness is awakening inside the villain. This is genuinely extraordinary. When Colonel Quaritch returns to Pandora in a new avatar body, there's only one goal in his mind: find Jake Sully and finish him off to fulfill his old revenge. Even after coming back in a new body, his memories of the first movie are completely clear to him. He knows how Jake stood against him, how his entire mission failed, and how, in the end, he lost his own life. So after landing on Pandora, every step he takes is to find Jake. But on this very path of revenge comes a moment that unexpectedly stops the Colonel himself. Seeing Jake's children in the forest, he first realizes they aren't ordinary Na'vi. Instead of 4 fingers like the Na'vi, they have 5 fingers on their hands, meaning their bodies also carry human genetic traits. Then, when he learns Spider's name, suddenly a truth comes out in front of him that he hadn't known all this time. This boy is his own son. The Colonel sees Spider, who grew up on Pandora for many years, for the first time with his own eyes. And this is exactly where a different kind of emotion suddenly appears in this man who had been blinded by revenge. Because he doesn't see Spider just as a captive, he realizes the boy is his own blood. This moment is important because Quaritch has been shown from the start of the movie as a ruthless military officer and vengeful villain. But after having his own son in front of him, there's a temporary change in his behavior. Instead of leaving Spider to be interrogated or tortured like the other captives, he ultimately takes charge of him himself. He tries to make his son understand that he doesn't want to harm him and tries to build a relationship between them. But for Spider, the matter wasn't that simple, because Spider had known since childhood what kind of man his father was. Quaritch's role in the torture, killing, and human occupation carried out against Pandora's innocent Na'vi was not unknown to him. So despite the blood relation, he can't accept his father. Even when Quaritch tells him to stay with him, Spider clearly refuses. Still, one thing becomes clear from the Colonel's behavior. No matter how cruel he is, a genuine fatherly feeling develops within him toward Spider. The biggest proof of this comes near the end of the movie. As the ship sinks, Quaritch lies unconscious underwater. Then Spider faces a difficult decision. Should he leave the man carrying his father's identity to face death? In the end, Spider saves him. That means the relationship between father and son isn't entirely one-sided either. A complicated, uncomfortable, but real emotion develops between them. And this is exactly where this twist's real importance lies. The movie doesn't show Quaritch as merely a one-dimensional villain. There's cruelty in him. There's revenge, but at the same time, there's also a soft spot for his own child. Those few seconds of first seeing Spider reveal a hidden side of the Colonel's character. The man who can wage war against an entire nation is also forced to pause, even if just for a moment, when he sees his own son in front of him. Twist number 4. The matter of 5 fingers. Even though Jake's children appear as Na'vi, their 5 fingers repeatedly bring danger, because pure-blooded Na'vi have 4. But here it's seen that their hand fingers are 5. Because of this small physical difference, their true identity gets exposed to everyone. Looking at Jake and Neytiri's children from the outside, they seem like completely pure Na'vi. Their bodies are like the Na'vi, their skin blue, their height quite tall. They move through Pandora's forests just like the Na'vi, and they grew up within their culture. So looking at them from a distance, there's no way to tell that their bodies also carry human genetic traits. But there's one small feature on their bodies that, no matter how well hidden, ends up repeatedly giving away their identity. Their 5 fingers. Pure Na'vi typically have 4 fingers on their hands. But because of human genetic influence in Jake and Neytiri's children, they show 5 fingers each. At first glance, this might seem like a very minor thing, but in the movie's story, this small difference becomes important. Because when Colonel Quaritch first sees Jake's children, he doesn't just assume they're Na'vi based on their behavior and appearance. Rather, looking at their hands, he understands. These aren't fully pure Na'vi. In other words, there's human blood or human genetic traits in their bodies. From here, Quaritch's suspicion deepens further, and he understands that these children might be members of Jake Sully's own family. This matters even more because Jake himself was once human. In the first movie, after permanently leaving his human body for the Avatar body, even though he became part of Na'vi society, his body's core genetic identity didn't completely change. That's why some human traits carry over into his children's bodies too. But this very trait becomes a source of danger for them, because no matter how much they live like the Na'vi, in the eyes of a trained military officer like the Colonel, this small difference can't be hidden. Even when Jake's family goes to seek shelter with the Metkayina clan, seeing the 5 fingers on their hands creates suspicion. The Metkayina understand this family isn't like other Na'vi, and that their bodies carry some trait of the Sky People humans. As a result, the same physical trait becomes, on one hand, proof of their identity, and on the other, marks them as outsiders in a new place. What's even more interesting is that for Spider, the matter is completely the opposite. He's fully human, so it's natural for him to have 5 human fingers. But for Jake's children to have 5 fingers is unusual, because they look completely Na'vi. This small difference actually brings forward one of the movie's big themes. Jake's family stands between 2 worlds. They've grown up in Na'vi culture, but their bodies also carry the human legacy. And it's precisely because of this that their identity can never be fully hidden. Those 5 fingers that the Colonel notices end up being not just a physical trait. They become a kind of silent signal that exposes Jake's family's true identity. A small difference that no one else might notice becomes, in the eyes of an experienced hunter, the biggest clue against the entire family. Twist number 5. The matter of Payakan's crime. The whole clan thought Payakan was a killer and had boycotted him for many years. But when they learned the real truth, that he counterattacked in revenge for losing his mother, it turns out to have been a huge misunderstanding on their part, and it was a big twist in the movie. Among Pandora's ocean giants, the Tolkien's, Payakan was completely different. To the Metkayina clan, Tolkien's aren't just sea creatures. They're almost like family members. So if any Tolkien becomes violent without reason or harms others, it gets cut off from the whole clan. And that's exactly what happened with Payakan. For many years, everyone saw him as a dangerous killer. His own pod boycotted him. No one wanted to go near him, and even among other Tolkiens, he had become a lonely, abandoned creature. But when Loak befriends him and learns about his past, the real truth gradually comes out. Payakan hadn't willingly killed any innocent creature. Once, human-like hunters attacked the Tolkiens and killed his mother. That trauma of losing his mother before his own eyes created intense rage within Payakan. Out of grief and anger, he launched a counterattack against the hunters. During that clash, several Na'vi also died, and from there everyone assumed Payakan had deliberately killed them. But no one tried to hear his side. No one wanted to know why he attacked or what had happened before it. As a result, an act of vengeful self-defense became established over time as a murder charge against him. This is exactly what makes Payakan's character so emotional. Because he's essentially a peace-loving creature, but the reaction he showed after losing his mother changed his entire life. Society branded him a criminal, yet no one understood the pain inside him. For Loak too, this connection with Payakan becomes very important. Because Loak himself often feels different from others within his family, gets scolded for his own decisions, and repeatedly falls victim to misunderstanding. So when he hears Payakan's story, he doesn't just hear the tale of an injured creature. He finds a parallel with his own life. This is why Loak doesn't fear Payakan like the others. Rather, he tries to understand him. And in the end, that trust proves right, when Payakan risks his own life and comes back to save Loak and his siblings. In other words, the very Payakan whom everyone saw as a murderer and outcast for so many years, in the end proves that inside him, friendship, loyalty, and love are stronger than cruelty. The real beauty of this twist lies right here. The movie shows us that you can't brand someone a criminal just by looking at the outcome of an event. You also need to know the reason behind it. Payakan's crime, then, wasn't merely murder in the end, but a desperate act of resistance against hunters after losing his mother, one that the whole clan wrongly judged. Twist number 6. The matter of the Tolkien hunters actually being a strategy to trap Jake. The Colonel deliberately had the Tolkien killed, and after killing it, ordered its body left floating so that the enraged Metkayina would protest. And through that, he could seize the opportunity and carry out his actual plan. When Colonel Quaritch realizes that finding Jake Sully directly is nearly impossible, he understands, to catch Jake, he'll need to use some other path to find his hiding place. Because even though Pandora's Na'vi know Jake's location, they won't reveal it to the Sky People. Jake, too, knew that to save his family, he had to stay as hidden as possible. So instead of directly chasing after Jake, the Colonel makes a plan that will force Jake to come out of hiding of his own will. And at the center of that plan was Tolkien hunting. To the Metkayina clan, Tolkiens aren't just some ordinary sea creature. They consider Tolkiens like their own kin, with a deep spiritual bond. So killing a Tolkien doesn't just mean killing one creature. It's a direct attack on Metkayina culture and their beliefs. The Colonel understood this very well. So he orders the hunters to hunt Tolkiens near the coast. Just killing wouldn't be enough for his plan. Rather, the massive body of the dead Tolkien had to be deliberately left floating near the coast, so the Metkayina would see that atrocity with their own eyes. The plan was arranged with a very cold, calculated mind. The Colonel knew the Metkayina wouldn't stay quiet seeing their beloved Tolkiens killed like this. By exploiting their emotions, he wanted to create a conflict that would force Jake and his family to come out of their safe place too. Even more terrifying, the Tolkien hunt's purpose wasn't just to find Jake. Human greed also plays a big role here. The valuable fluid called Amrita, collected from the Tolkien's brain, is priceless on Earth because it helps stop human aging. In other words, to humans, a Tolkien isn't just a creature. The valuable fluid inside its body is worth crores of money. Exploiting this greed, the hunters keep killing Tolkiens. But to the Colonel, this hunt is part of an even bigger purpose. He knew that just leaving a Tolkien's body on the coast would enrage the Metkayina. And when they come out for revenge, their movements can be monitored to detect Jake's location. In other words, the Tolkien killing was actually a huge bait. The Colonel himself, perhaps, didn't know Jake's location, but he knew Jake wouldn't want to put his new hosts in danger. So if any major conflict broke out, Jake would surely come forward to protect his family or the Metkayina clan. And right then, the Colonel could follow him all the way to his hideout. This is exactly where Jake's intelligence makes the situation more complicated. He realizes that this killing isn't actually some ordinary hunt, but a trap set by the Colonel to draw him out. So when the Metkayina want revenge, Jake stops them and forbids them from going into direct conflict. Instead, he warns that if any tracking device is found on the Tolkien's bodies, it should be removed. But the Colonel's plan doesn't fail completely. Because Loak knew that since Payakan had been outcast from his own pod, this warning might not reach him. So to save his friend, he rushes to Payakan himself. And that's exactly where the Colonel's trap takes effect. There was a tracking device attached to Payakan's body, too. That means when Jake's family arrives there to save Payakan, the Colonel's men also learn their location. In the end, the very plan through which the Colonel couldn't find Jake directly is the same plan that leads him all the way to Jake's family. The Tolkien hunt, then, wasn't just a cruel killing done out of greed. Behind it was an extremely calculated military strategy to lure Jake out of his hiding place and trap the entire family. Then, twist number 7. To save his own son, the Colonel lets Kiri go. Regarding this exchange matter, the moment Neytiri holds a knife to Spider's throat, we see that the Colonel immediately, out of caution, lets Kiri go. And this reaction proves just how much love he has for the boy. There, we, the audience, actually get to see a father's love. During the final battle, when Colonel Quaritch takes Kiri captive, the situation was completely in his control. He knew Kiri was an extremely important member of Jake Sully's family, and holding her hostage would force Jake to surrender. So putting a knife to Kiri's throat, he makes it clear to Jake and Neytiri. One wrong move, and their child could die. Jake, on the other hand, also knew it wouldn't be easy to rescue Kiri from the Colonel by force alone. Right then, Neytiri makes a decision that completely changes the whole calculation of the situation in an instant. She grabs the Colonel's own son, Spider, and puts a knife to his throat. That is, the very Colonel who, until then, had been imposing his terms by holding someone else's child hostage, now finds his own son in the exact same position. Neytiri's message was completely clear. A child for a child. And this is exactly where a change appears in the Colonel's behavior that reveals the most human side of his entire character. The very man who, up until this moment, hadn't hesitated even a moment while threatening to kill Kiri, can no longer take the risk once his own son is in danger. He immediately lets Kiri go. That means no matter how trivial someone else's child's life is to him, his calculation changes completely when it comes to his own child. This moment is especially important because the Colonel has been shown from the start of the movie as a ruthless military officer. He doesn't hesitate to attack Pandora's inhabitants, plans to kill Tulkans, takes children hostage, and becomes desperate to destroy Jake's family. But upon seeing the knife at Spider's throat, that harshness of his suddenly breaks. He realizes that although he can do anything for revenge, he can't gamble with his own son's life, and this is exactly where a deep contradiction in his character comes forward. A man who shows such cruelty towards someone else's family can't accept that same cruelty when it comes to his own family. What's even more important is that Spider himself doesn't want to accept the Colonel as his father either. He knows about the Colonel's atrocities and hates him. Still, the Colonel's behavior shows that his feelings toward Spider aren't just about using him for his own purposes. There's genuinely a fatherly feeling working within him. Further proof of this comes later, when Spider himself rescues the unconscious Colonel lying inside the sinking ship. That means, no matter how complicated their relationship is, the blood tie hasn't been completely erased. This hostage exchange moment, then, isn't just an action scene. It reveals a hidden truth about the Colonel's character. He may be able to put countless people in danger for his own revenge, but when his own son's life comes before him, even that revenge pauses for a moment. The decision to let Kiri go proves that the human being inside the Colonel hasn't died completely. Even beneath his cruelty, a father's feeling still lives on. Twist number 8. The family suffers its biggest loss at the safest moment. When the siblings are being rescued from the ship, just at the very last moment of the rescue, a bullet hits Neteyam's body, and he dies. But right at the moment they thought they were safe, the biggest blow lands. This was a big twist of the movie. One of the most heartbreaking moments of Avatar. The Way of Water comes exactly when the audience starts to feel. Maybe this time, everyone can be brought out safely. The Colonel's men have trapped Jake's children inside the ship. Fire all around, water coming in, the whole ship gradually sinking. Even so, Jake, Neytiri, and the Metkayina warriors jump in together and keep trying to rescue the children. No matter how terrifying the situation, at one point it seems like the rescue mission is about to succeed. One by one, they manage to reach the captive children. An escape route is created, and the possibility of bringing the whole family back together again arises. But right at this moment of hope, the movie delivers a blow no one was prepared for. Neytiri is shot. Jake's eldest son, Neytiri, has been one of the most responsible children in the family from the start, looking after his younger siblings, listening to his father, and standing at the front in times of danger. In almost every situation, he's played the role of a big brother. So during the final battle too, without thinking of his own safety, he moves forward to free his siblings. But right in the midst of that effort to get them out, a bullet suddenly hits his body. At first, no one even realizes how serious the wound is. The family still tries to save him, thinking maybe treatment can save him. But gradually the reality becomes clear. Neytiri's wound is fatal. Jake and Neytiri watch with their own eyes as their eldest son gradually slips toward death. And the cruelest part is, he dies exactly at the moment when his family had almost reached safety. That means Neytiri's death doesn't happen in some impossible or hopeless situation. Rather, right when the audience thinks the danger is passing, the biggest loss happens. This moment is also extremely important from the story's perspective, because up until now, Jake's biggest goal had been keeping his family alive. After the experience of the first movie, he understood how terrifying the pain of losing a loved one is. That's exactly why, in the second movie, he's so cautious, so strict with his children, and always puts their safety first. Even Neytiri, at one point, accuses him of behaving like a commander instead of a father toward the children. But in the end, none of that caution, that fleeing, that seeking shelter with a new clan can save Neytiri. As a result, Neytiri's death, for Jake, isn't just the loss of a child. It also shatters his own belief. He had been thinking all this time that to keep the family safe, he had to be tougher, more careful, keep everyone away from danger. But in the end, he's forced to understand. Even trying to control everything, you can't protect the people you love from every danger. For Neytiri, too, this death was even more devastating because her own child's death happens right before her eyes. All the joy the whole family had built, the hope of adapting to the new environment, and the dream built around the future, all of it shatters within moments. And the most powerful aspect of this scene in the movie is, Neytiri's death isn't just the death of one character. It's also the death of the previous calm chapter in Jake's family's life. From here on, their life will never be the same as before. An eldest brother is lost. A lifelong emptiness forms in the parents' hearts. And even a younger brother like Loak is deeply affected by this event. This is exactly why Neytiri's death becomes so important. Because the movie shows that war's biggest blow doesn't always come at war's most terrifying moment. Sometimes, exactly when it seems everything is about to be okay, fate strikes its cruelest blow. Number 9. Jake himself doesn't keep the Colonel alive. There's a fight underwater, and in that fight, we see Jake knock the Colonel unconscious and think he might have died. But actually he doesn't die, and he survives. And after this, an even bigger danger arrives. Toward the very end of the final battle, the fight between Jake and Colonel Quaritch isn't just two enemies facing off. It's the moment of settling the final account of many years of revenge, anger, and a fight for survival. The burning ship gradually sinks underwater, and amid the dark water, broken structures, and debris all around, the two fight each other desperately. The Colonel is still desperate to finish Jake off, and Jake too knows, as long as this man is alive, his family will never be fully safe. After a long struggle, Jake finally manages to overpower the Colonel. At one point in the fierce underwater fight, the Colonel falls unconscious. Jake, too, is by then extremely exhausted, the air in his lungs nearly gone, his body growing weak. In that state, it was natural for him to assume the Colonel might be dead, because he could no longer be seen moving, and Jake himself was then fighting to save his own life. As a result, he wasn't in a position to make sure of his enemy's fate. But this is exactly where one of the movie's most important twists lies hidden. The Colonel actually hasn't died. Jake unknowingly leaves alive an enemy who is one of the biggest threats to his life. In other words, right at the moment, Jake thinks the long-standing enmity may have finally ended. The audience knows the danger hasn't actually ended. What's even more interesting is that the one who ultimately keeps the Colonel alive is someone the Colonel himself claims as his own child, Spider. Seeing the unconscious Colonel lying underwater, Spider pulls him up from there. He knows the Colonel is his father, and no matter how much he hates him, he can't leave him to face death. So this survival story that begins without Jake's knowledge is ultimately completed by Spider's own decision. This is exactly what makes the twist more interesting. Jake spent his whole life trying to stop the Colonel, but at the last moment, he himself leaves him in a state where he gets a chance to survive. And even though the Colonel is defeated, he isn't completely finished either. He loses that battle, but he doesn't lose his desire for revenge. Most importantly, this survival isn't just for the current movie. It's also a big hint for the story's future. Because the Colonel now knows where Jake's family is, where their weaknesses lie, and how complicated his relationship with Spider is. He's no longer the man he was before. Now he's in a Na'vi avatar body. So even after his previous death, his story of revenge hasn't stopped. Rather, this new body has given him the chance to chase after Jake for even longer. So when Jake decides to start a new life with his family, the audience understands the enemy has actually remained right behind them. The Colonel's survival proves that the end of this war isn't really the end of the war. It's the beginning of the next conflict. And here lies a great ironic aspect of the movie. Jake, in trying to save his family, gets the chance to finish off such an enemy, but fails to finish him off for certain. Rather, unknowingly, he gives him the chance to survive. And that surviving Colonel opens the path for him to return again in the future. In other words, Jake thought he had lost his greatest enemy, but in reality, he had only temporarily stopped him. Twist number 10. Spider saves the very person he hated. Throughout the whole movie, showing hatred toward the Colonel, that same Spider, in the last moment, when the Colonel falls unconscious, pulls him out of the water and rescues him. This conflict between hatred and the pull of blood creates an emotional stage within the movie. Spider's character stays trapped in a strange conflict throughout the whole movie. On one hand, Colonel Quaritch is his biological father. On the other, Spider has known since childhood about that man's torture, cruelty, and the massacre committed against Pandora's innocent people. So even after seeing his father in front of him, no expression of love is seen within him. Rather, he makes it clear, having a blood relation doesn't mean you have to accept someone as your father. To him, Jake's family was the real family, and the Colonel was a man he hated. This is exactly why Spider's decision during the final battle becomes so important. Fighting Jake, the Colonel is defeated and falls unconscious underwater. All around then, there's a destroyed ship, fire, and a struggle for survival amid the sinking water. Spider then had an easy opportunity in front of him. If he wanted, he could let the Colonel drown right there. No one would even blame him. Rather, many would consider it natural to let die the man who wanted to destroy his family. But Spider doesn't do that. He goes back underwater, and seeing the unconscious Colonel, pulls him up to safety. That means the very man he had rebelled against throughout the whole movie. At the last moment, he saves that very man's life with his own hands. This is exactly where the biggest humane side of Spider's character comes forward. However, this can't be said to mean that Spider suddenly forgave the Colonel. He doesn't support the Colonel's actions, nor does he agree to go with him. Rather, when the Colonel regains consciousness and wants to take him along, Spider clearly refuses and returns to Jake's family. That means he saved his father, but didn't accept his father's ideology. This difference between these two things is exactly what makes Spider's character so complex. On one hand, the hatred built up in his mind says this man wanted to destroy him and his loved ones. On the other, his blood relation and human conscience wouldn't let him leave him to face death. He understands that no matter how bad the Colonel is, deliberately letting him die and killing him with his own hands. These two decisions could change his own character too. And one thing is very important here. Spider didn't become like the Colonel even after saving his father. Rather, the exact opposite happened. Where the Colonel repeatedly sacrificed his own humanity for revenge, Spider gave humanity priority over his own hatred. He saved his enemy's life yet didn't join him. This decision is exactly what sets him completely apart from the Colonel. There's another deep meaning hidden within this scene too. Throughout the movie, Jake's family accepted Spider as one of their own, even though there was a certain distance in Neytiri's mind regarding his human identity. But at the last moment, this act of Spider's seems to prove family isn't built by blood relation alone. Family is also built through people's decisions and love. He has a blood relation with the Colonel, but he chose Jake's family. And by not leaving the Colonel to face death, he proved that even while hating his old family, he didn't kill his own humanity. The biggest thing is, this decision of Spider's is exactly what gives the Colonel the chance to live on for the future. That is, by saving the very man he hates, he unknowingly opens the door to another big conflict in the future. If the Colonel had drowned that day, his story of revenge against Jake's family would have ended right there too. But because of Spider's humane decision, that enemy lives on again. So this twist isn't just Spider saved his father. That's not all of it. Its real beauty is that he saved his father, but didn't choose his father's path. The pull of blood forced him to save a life, but his conscience wouldn't let him stand beside that man. And this conflict between hatred and love, blood relation and one's own chosen family, is exactly what makes Spider's character one of the movie's most emotional and complex. Twist number 11 is that the real reason behind Jake's harshness was hidden within love. We see Jake showing harsh behavior with his son. There, it seems as if he doesn't have fatherly love within him. But when it comes to the children's safety, we've seen that his deep, loving tenderness is also visible there, which becomes clear once Neytiri explains it to him. From the very start of the movie, one thing is very clear about Jake Sully's behavior. He's extremely harsh with his children. Especially with Netayam and Loak, his behavior often seems as if he's not their father, but a commander, and they're soldiers under him. Jake can't easily accept even small mistakes. where to go, how to move, what to do in front of the enemy. He imposes strict rules on his children in almost everything. Looking from the outside, it might seem that instead of understanding his children as a good father, Jake is more busy always controlling them. But the real truth is a bit different. Jake didn't just become harsh on his own. Behind this behavior of his lies a deep fear of losing his own children. Because Jake knows humans have returned to Pandora again, and this time their purpose is even more terrifying than before. RDA doesn't just want to take Pandora's resources and leave, they want to establish their dominance here permanently. And Jake knows that as long as he remains their main enemy, his family isn't safe either. This is exactly why Jake takes every mistake of his children so seriously. To him, even a small mistake could be the cause of a big disaster. He knows that if the Sky People find out his family's location, then not just him, but his wife Neytiri and children too would be targeted. So there's always a dread working in Jake's mind. If any one of his children carelessly falls into enemy hands, he might not be able to bring them back. This fear becomes clearest when, because of a mistake by Loak, he and Neytiri nearly get caught by the enemies. At the last moment, Jake manages to save both of them. But after coming home, instead of hugging his children to his chest to calm them, he scolds them harshly. Seen from outside, that might seem like anger. But inside, Jake is terrified. He knows that next time, he might not be able to arrive in time. And this is exactly where Neytiri objects to Jake's behavior. She understands that Jake genuinely wants to keep his children safe. But by always behaving like a commander, he's drifting emotionally away from them. Teaching children only rules isn't enough. It's also important to maintain a father's relationship with them. Jake's problem is that he's a man of war. A large part of his life has been spent amid danger, where mistakes get no second chance. So he starts seeing his children through that same lens too. He wants his sons to be built in such a way that they don't break down standing in front of the enemy. But he forgets that his children aren't his soldiers. They're his family. Still, the love hidden within Jake's harshness gradually becomes clear throughout the movie. He gets angry at his children because he's afraid of losing them. He tells them to follow the rules because he knows the outside world won't forgive their mistakes. And most importantly, he wants to prepare his own children in such a way that even if something happens to him, they can protect themselves. The most tragic thing is that the story's later events prove Jake's fear wasn't unfounded at all. In the end, his family really does fall into terrible danger at Colonel Quaritch's hands. And in that clash, Jake loses his eldest son, Neytiri, right before his own eyes. He knew this world wasn't safe for his children. He knew that enemies would use his family if given the chance. And he knew that as a father, his biggest responsibility was to keep his children alive. So if we look at Jake's harshness only as the behavior of an angry father, we miss the real side of the character. He's actually a father who loves his children so much that the fear of losing them made him overly harsh. When Neytiri makes him understand that he needs to behave with his children, not just like a commander, but also like a father, this hidden side of Jake's character becomes even clearer. He may not always be able to express love gently, but there was a purpose behind every one of his harsh decisions: that his family survive. And this is the most painful part of this twist. Jake became harsh with his children while trying to protect them, but in the end, he had to lose one of those very children right before his own eyes. His fear came true, and that's exactly why his harsh behavior at the start of the movie starts taking on a completely different meaning by the end. Twist number 12. Losing one son completes a circle over another son. Just after losing Neytiri, his father, Spider, comes back to Jake's family right after. And Jake says that a difficult son, who couldn't be fully accepted at first, ultimately gets accepted through grief in the end. And there, a major turning point of the movie occurs. One of the most emotional hidden twists of Avatar. The Way of Water lies hidden in the relationship between Jake's family and Spider. Throughout the movie, Spider seems to be a family member, yet somehow different somewhere. He grew up with Jake's children, played with them, stood by them in danger. But because there's no blood relation, his position was always a bit uncertain. On top of that, he's human. And in Neytiri's eyes, this identity was never entirely comfortable. But toward the end of the movie, Neytiri's death and Spider's return give this relationship a completely new meaning. From the start, Jake's family raised Spider as one of their own. After staying behind on Pandora as a child, he grew up right alongside Jake's children. His relationship with Neytiri, Loak, Tuk, and Kiri was just like siblings. But even so, there was an invisible distance, because Spider is actually Colonel Quaritch's biological son, and that very Quaritch was Jake's biggest enemy. As a result, Spider's identity always created a complication. Is he Quaritch's son, or a member of Jake's family? At the start of the movie, there's no easy answer to this question. Especially from Neytiri's side, a hesitation is seen in fully accepting Spider as her own child. To her, Spider is the child of a family whose father has killed countless Na'vi. As a result, the blood relation creates a discomfort in Neytiri's mind. On the other hand, Jake sees Spider as part of his own family. But he too never expresses it in a way that shows Spider is equal to his own sons. This subtle distance remains throughout the story. Then comes Colonel Quaritch's return. After the Colonel recognizes Spider as his own son, he takes him captive. He wants to know Jake's location from Spider, but Spider says nothing. Rather, he expresses hatred toward his own father and makes it known that he has hated the Colonel since childhood. Here, one big thing becomes clear. Blood relation and family relation aren't the same thing. Spider's biological father is the Colonel, but to him, family is Jake's children. He risks his own life for them, and in the end, even after saving the Colonel, he returns to Jake's family. But the real change comes after Neytiri's death. In the final clash, Jake's eldest son Neytiri is shot and dies. The boy who had all this time been the family's big brother, the protector of the younger ones, and one of Jake's most dependable children, is suddenly gone. This death seems to stop Jake's entire world. Then, when Spider returns, the situation creates a strange emotion. On one hand, Jake has lost his own son. On the other, his other son-like child has come back. In that moment, from Jake's mouth comes out, "I lost one son. I got another son back." This line actually completes an emotional circle for the entire movie, because Spider had been by the family's side from the start, but he was never fully sure exactly where he stood with Jake. And after Neytiri's death, that relationship seems to be newly established. Jake understands that a child isn't only someone he shares blood with. A child is someone you fight for, someone whose loss makes your chest tremble with fear, and who comes back to your family even amid danger. This is exactly why looking at Neytiri's death and Spider's return side by side makes the Events even more emotional. One son leaves, and another comes back. One is a child of blood. The other isn't. But Jake's feelings toward both are like a father's. And there's another deeper matter here. The emptiness created in Jake's family after losing Neytiri can't be filled by Spider. No child can take another child's place. Neytiri's death remains a permanent wound. But Spider's return reminds the family that not everything is lost. They still have some people alive, for whom they must keep fighting. This is exactly why saying losing one son and getting another back doesn't literally mean putting one person in another's place. Rather, it means Jake is feeling both the pain of loss and the relief of getting someone back at the same time. And for Spider too, this moment is very important, because he could have chosen to go with the Colonel if he wanted. His biological father wanted him with him, but in the end, he chooses his family of choice. That means, even though the Colonel's blood runs in his body, Jake's family is the family of his heart. And this is exactly why Spider's return at the end of the movie isn't just a character's return. It's also his own choice of identity. He proves family isn't always received by birth. Sometimes family has to be chosen through one's own decision. So after losing Neytiri, this moment is, for Jake's family, both extremely painful and hopeful at once. One they will never get back, but another has come back to them. One son's death creates a permanent emptiness in the family's heart, and another's return gives that family the strength to stand together again. This is how, through Neytiri's death and Spider's return, an emotional circle of Jake's family's incomplete relationships gets completed. My dear friends, we've just been discussing some hidden twists of this movie. Now we're going to review this movie. I've tried to take this information from Wikipedia. Avatar is an inspired movie, it's a science fiction movie, and a work of science fiction cinema. After its first sequel, or after it was first made, its popularity among audiences was sky-high. As a result, inspired by that, its second sequel was made in 2022, Avatar: The Way of Water. Its director was James Cameron, and it was released in the United States in 2022. Its running time was 192 minutes. Its budget was initially $350 million, though it later reached up to $460 million, and it collected $2.33 billion at the box office. That shows just how much popularity it achieved among audiences. Next, if we look at the screenplay, there are 3 names in the screenplay. They are James Cameron, Rick Jaffa, and Amanda Silver. And it was produced by 2 people, James Cameron and John Landau. As for starring, we can say several stars worked in it. They are Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang, and Kate Winslet. Cinematography was done by Rob Selkar-Pinter, music by Simon Franklin, and the production company was Lightstorm Entertainment. And it was distributed through 20th Century Studios. We're ending this movie's explanation right here. Do let us know in the comments how you liked it, and be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.